Hey, everybody, this is TJR. I just got finished watching the first episode of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And after I talked about WandaVision and tried to comment on each episode each week, I said to myself, this was my first time trying to do that, and I don't think I'm going to do that again. I think I'm just going to wait till these things are over with and maybe talk about them, maybe not. But after watching this episode, I'm just like, I got to talk about this. So I hope you don't mind. Anyways, though, so unlike WandaVision, where we had this very unconventional framing sequence with which to tell the story, Falcon and the Winter Soldier has us back to familiar storytelling tropes within the MCU. And nothing wrong with that if it's done well. And this was done extremely well. Now, this episode, of course, kicks it off with just an absolutely amazing aerial action scene, as good as anything you're going to see in the best blockbuster films. I kid you not. And in this sequence, we see Sam Wilson, the Falcon, on a solo mission. And we get to see a lot more of what his suit, his technology that he uses, can do beyond just being able to fly. We see a lot of its weapons capabilities. We see that it now has these little drone packs that can fly off of his backpack and do other things for him. We see that his goggles have have a lot of technology behind them too. He can do things like use, I guess it's radar to see through walls as he looks inside of a plane to see, who's inside. And we also see that his wings act as a defense mechanism, that they can deflect bullets like Captain America's shield. And of course, now that I've mentioned that, we all know that at the end of Endgame, the aging Steve Rogers, Captain America, gave his shield to Sam Wilson and asked him to carry on the mantle of Captain America. And so in this episode, we find out more about what happens with that and what happens with the shield after Captain America gives it to him. And this pays off huge at the end. And I don't want to give away too much. I'm assuming you've seen the show or you wouldn't be here, but in case you haven't, I'm not going to give away too much. After this huge, exciting action sequence, we then come back down to earth, literally and metaphorically. We have, of course, a conversation between Sam Wilson, the Falcon, and a USA government operative working with him. And he talks to them about a terrorist group that is unhappy that the blip was undone, or the snap was undone, I should say, that things were better before the blip when everybody came back. That we were better with half the population gone. And it sounds crazy, but crazier things have happened in our own world. And there was a great line about how anytime things get good for one group of people, things get bad for another group of people. And this is what usually causes political and social unrest in our country and in the rest of the world very often. And so I love how these shows, these movies take these fantastical elements of the Marvel comic book cinematic universe and shows how they affect us in very grounded and real ways. And speaking of which, we also get a lot more about what happened to people after the blip, just like we did with WandaVision. Only this time we see it from the perspective of Sam Wilson, who was gone, and his sister, who was on Earth during those 5 years, left behind, so to speak, and how it affects their lives. And he tries to help her. She's having financial difficulties. He's helping her get a loan. And once again, it's these real world, everyday concerns that keep grounding the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Earlier today, Robert and I, we did a discussion video where we talked about the Snyder Cut of Justice League. And one of the things that I could have said in that video, but didn't, but I will say now, is that I get the impression that Zack Snyder thinks that the more violent you make something, it somehow is more grounded and more real. I don't think his films are grounded or realistic at all. I think they're hyper real. I think they take place in a heightened melodramatic world that is not like our world at all. And not that that's bad, but it's just a different type of filmmaking style. At any rate, though, once again, we have so we're very grounded. We have this whole situation where he tries to get a loan for his sister to help her, and then can't get the loan. And as that plot thread is going, we have a separate plot thread with the Winter Soldier, Bucky Barnes. What's been happening to him? How has he been managing? How is he coping now that Captain America, his best friend, is no longer there? He's kind of alone in the world now, and he is very much kind of a version of Steve Rogers, of this man out of time, who's over 100 years old and has been, away for so long, and trying to cope with the modern world and just trying to find peace for himself. But he's got a much darker path to follow than Steve Rogers did. And so we get his story too. Now, we know that these characters, they don't do it in this episode, but we know they're going to come together probably by next episode, because the trailers have certainly indicated this, and the two are going to team up. Clearly, this terrorist threat is part of it, but also, from what I understand, Baron Zemo from Civil War will be part of this too. So he was a Marvel Comics character that was really changed a lot for the film, and I thought in really good ways. And so we'll see how this character develops in this series. Just a lot of good setup building, story building for this episode, a lot of good character beats, and a lot of just developing the world, making the world richer, before we start launching off into the heart of the story, into all the action. And I'm really sensing and hoping that this will contain a lot of the political thriller vibes meets action film that we had with the Captain America Winter Soldier movie, which to me was one of the best of the series. And so I'm hoping we'll get more into that here. But anyways, though, great start for this series. Once again, I don't know if I'm going to talk about next week's episode, or the week after, or the week after. We'll see what happens. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. Maybe I'll wait till it's all over and talk about it then, but I will talk about it soon, at least at the very ending. Let me know what you think. Oh, we got noisy cars outside. Anyways, though, my neighbors are revving their engines. If you like what I'm doing, be sure to click like, click subscribe, smash that bell icon so you can know when I release new videos. And let me know what you thought of this episode. Let me know what your thoughts are. Do you prefer this type of just more to the point storytelling versus the more esoteric way that WandaVision told its story? I think they're both equally valid. I like them both. And I hope that Marvel will experiment more with storytelling tropes and how they frame their stories, like they did with WandaVision. I hope they'll try new things. At any rate, though, let me know your thoughts. Everybody, thank you so much for watching. Looking forward to your comments. Take care. Bye-bye.